Hey everybody, I'm Bear Wade. I'm a documentary filmmaker and I know nothing about teenage mental health.
Hi there, my name is Eric Eastman. I'm an educator. I know absolutely nothing about documentary filmmaking, and I know a whole lot about teenage mental health. One of the most amazing things about this process, I have learned so much about documentary filmmaking, but over the course of the last 2 or 3 months, the thing that's been so incredible for me is I thought I knew a whole lot about teenage mental health, but we've talked to so many different people and it's been so incredible to hear all of their different stories.
And the more I'm learning about it, the more multifaceted, complex, layered, which really gets annoying. I mean, like frustrating. Like we're hearing all these stories already, and we've been doing some pre-interviews, and it's just really heartbreaking. But some of the other, to the other side of it, we're seeing some people really in the trenches doing some amazing work. And so, boy, it's a really complex story.
Yeah, one of the things that I've found fascinating about this process, and the thing that I've kind of embraced is to kind of expect the unexpected.
Now you're getting documentary.
Right? Okay, I guess I've learned a little bit about documentary filmmaking. Okay,
get your PhD.
That's good.
Yeah.
There you go, right? But yeah, do you expect the unexpected? You think you're going to have somebody say something that is going to be incredibly negative, and all of a sudden they're telling you all of these positive stories. And then other times you expect somebody who you think has it all together, and all of a sudden they share with you these just really disheartening stories.
Yeah, and it's frustrating to watch. It's like you want to help them, but at the same time, there are so many layers. It's not just like one solution, and that for me is why I want to work on this project. There's so many people that are underserved and don't have a megaphone that we hopefully can provide as filmmakers. And boy, I hope that we get the opportunity to continue on with this and keep sharing stories and both of people that are really struggling and in the thick of it, but also people that have found solutions and are able to I hope we can shine a light on what's working for some people, and maybe viewers that get to see what we're doing and the stories we're sharing get to go, ooh, I should try that, or I've never heard of that. We should give that a go, or boy, that's just like me. And it's amazing. Some of the teenagers have so much stacked against them. You were mentioning today, well, we were doing some interviews that they're busier and have more expected of them than some adults, and that's crazy. Their hours of being waking up early, getting to school on time, going through school all day, and then a lot of teenagers are working to make some money, and so they have work after that. Then they are expected to do homework, and then if they do any school activities at all, whether it be band or theater or sports, then it was just a lot. And then there's stuff on the weekends, so there's no reprieve, and it just keeps piling up, and it's really resilient. They have to be really resilient.
I can't even emphasize enough the number of hours that teenagers put in during a week.
Yeah.
And we can talk about how we are overworked, how we put in our 40 to 50 hour work weeks, whatever. But so many of these kids, they wake up at 6 in the morning, they go to school all day, then they have their sports, or they have a job, or they have both, and they're not getting home until 9:30 or 10 at night. And then, oh yeah, I need to do my homework. Mm-hmm. And they're half falling asleep. They're all sleep deprived, and then they just get up and they do the whole thing all over again.
Yeah.
It's a grind for them. It's a real grind, and that's definitely one theme that we've kind of seen over and over. Is there another theme that you've kind of seen from either some of our advocates, some of our educators, or some of our teens?
The one that I remember from doing pre-interview, Zoom interviews, was we were asking advocates or people that were already working with teenagers, and they said if they had one thing, they wish they would focus on their sleep. Yeah, a lot of it snowballs. It's apparently from. I guess I know that personally. That if my sleep is terrible or I'm not getting enough of it, that it just gets worse, compounds.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. When you talk about themes, one of the themes that I heard from our expert, our advocates, and our counselor and administrator is about giving our teenagers space to share their emotions.
Right.
Another theme that I've heard so often is that some people take teen behavior. Some adults take teen behavior so personally. Mm-hmm. I don't have a teenager. I have a young son. Mm-hmm. But even his behavior sometimes I take personally. Yeah, and right. It's just giving him open space to share his emotions and to hear these experts in the field talk about just giving kids space to unleash their emotions, not taking it personally. I know it's not that simple, but to hear that over and over and over again, right. it makes you wonder.
Well, yeah, and it's inspiring. And it also kind of enables you to go, I might not be perfect at this, but I should give it a go of not taking it on and not reflecting back the energy that's coming at me. And I'm not great at that. So to hear that and go, that's something I could practice for sure. It was a really neat takeaway.
Couldn't agree more. Should we possibly tell them about our own history? Should we show our vulnerability?
Sure. Yeah.
Share our story?
I guess that's kind of part of the thing. That
yeah. Right?
We were learning, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, one of the things that the experts told us is that adults need to be vulnerable. If you want to develop trust, you share your vulnerability.
So what are some of the things that you have struggled with in your past that help? I guess what is you use as the lens or the motivation for this project?
Sure, absolutely. So I grew up playing all these different sports, getting perfect grades, and I really felt like I needed to do everything perfectly well at everything. It wasn't really my parents driving this. It just was kind of part of who I was. And in 7th grade, I got really, really sick, and I ended up having to go to the hospital. And after that, I became deathly afraid of death. So I developed these strange obsessive thoughts and ritualistic behaviors. At the time, I had no idea what it was. Like, I had never heard of obsessive compulsive disorder before.
Sure, right.
And
what ways was that presenting?
Yeah.
I'm learning the words, aren't I?
You know what?
Yeah. All right.
Okay, you know what? You know some things about mental health?
I'm learning.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll slowly, share our...
Right. We'll talk about frame rates after this, yeah.
What'd you call me? All right. So anyway, and I started to have obsessive thoughts. And my obsessive thoughts were about fear of death and fear of dying, fear of germs, and fear of hurting somebody or having somebody close to me injured or dying. And to alleviate those...
those are valid.
They are.
Yeah.
They are. But they were also irrational.
And all-consuming.
It was relentless. Yeah. And I didn't know what was happening to me. And I developed all of these rituals, washing my hands 300 or 400 times a day, checking the locks 20, 30 times before going to bed, 45-minute showers, you name it. It was nonstop.
Yeah.
I never had a respite from these obsessive thoughts or these ritualistic behaviors. And by the time I was in early 9th grade, I finally just couldn't deal with it anymore.
Yeah.
And my parents took me to a psychologist, diagnosed me, and then I was perfect after that.
Yeah, right. The end. Roll credits.
Yep, all done. No, it was a battle. It was still a battle. But at that point in time, I was well aware that my thoughts and my actions were irrational.
Did you feel relieved knowing that this was a thing? Like that you got this label, so to speak? Was it helpful for you, or was it putting you in a box, I guess? Because I think as a parent of a child, or even myself, sometimes I don't want to know. Ignorance is bliss, and other times it's like, oh, that has a name. Oh, that's really helpful. Now I can try and look for solutions. And how were you with that?
No, that's so true because as an educator, I'm very careful about labels. I'm very careful about labeling students, putting them in the box, defining who they are by their label.
Yeah, right.
I did not experience that. Yeah. What I experienced is absolute relief that I was not going crazy, because I legitimately did not know what was happening to me. I had no words. There were no words to tell people or tell myself what I had. And so, So
now you have some vocabulary to help express what you're going through. Yeah.
Correct. And I was incredibly lucky. And this is another one of our themes that we've kind of come across. I was incredibly lucky, and I didn't know this at the time, but my parents found a psychologist that practiced something called CBT, or cognitive behavior therapy. And so from 9th grade on, I had evidence-based treatments to work on changing my thoughts and changing my behaviors. And it did not happen overnight. In fact, I had many of the rituals all the way through high school and into college. After that, I ended up becoming an educator, and I share my story with my students. I share it often. And I do that, vulnerability, building trust.
Yeah,
and I've done this for 25 years or so. That's what I do. And I try to create a level of comfort where students know that it's okay, that they have the words that go along with what they're struggling with.
Yeah.
And it's been incredibly valuable. So that's how I got here.
Yeah.
How about you? What's your story?
Oh, is that all?
That's it. You know, if you could, if anybody, my email is, you can let me know any sort of treatments that you have for me. It's amazing because it is a long haul, but a theme that I always tell my students is that it gets better. And it's been an amazing run, and I wouldn't change a thing because it helps me to make a difference in students' lives. So enough about that.
And I've only seen you wash your hands like twice, so I think it's really.
I rarely wash my hands now. That's disgusting.
And you made dinner a few nights ago.
I know. Yeah. Those aren't pillows.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. All right. So how about you? What's your story? What's your truth?
Oh, I got mine is mostly about for me, my struggle with mental health it was really disguised. I think it was mine. For me, I was a creative kid in a system of academics where you needed to be good at math, and you need to spell, and Dad, I love you, but we all found out later that when I was getting good grades in college at photography school, oh, this kid is smart. It's just in a different way. And so I don't know if I was not, I wonder if I was ADHD or some sort of dyslexia. I was never ever labeled as that, but I, had a tough time reading, where I would look at all the words and then finish like I was done, and the teacher would go, well, what was that about? And I go, not a clue.
So
you want to diagnose me?
That's what I want to do. I want to tell them what's wrong. Let me tell you what's wrong. So a lot of our schools are very much designed for people that lean slightly more to the left brain.
Yeah.
And you, as an artist, I know our hair and makeup specialist, who also happens to be my lovely wife.
Oh, right.
Is also much more right-brained, and she had a very similar school experience.
Yeah, and I think. I was a good kid once I got past elementary school. I was just a real smart aleck and got detentions all the time. But then after that, it was really about being a good person, and I had that in me, but it really didn't feel like a great place for me. So then, since then, I've realized what I'm good at and what I need to work on, and I don't feel as guilty or whatever with it. But it. After doing research in this project, it's been a lot more there is a place for me, and and that's been really helpful. And there's other teens out there now that might be struggling with that sort of thing.
You talked about purpose, our purpose.
Yeah. So we both have a real stake in this story, and it's interesting because I came to it very ignorantly. I was looking for a new project besides the client work that I do for a marketing agency, and I wanted.
Do you want to put in a plug for that?
Yeah, we'll put the link on the description below. It was really about doing something on my own and creating the best thing I possibly could, and the way I wanted to do it. For some reason, I have that real itch that I like to like to scratch every once in a while, and so. Coming off of, I'd made a documentary for PBS 10 years ago, and it's still airing, and really love that project. And now, my boys are growing up, and my wife's great, and I feel like this itch again to do something. So I put out onto social media looking for a new project. What kind of stories do we have? And Eric went, ooh, right.
Who has 2 thumbs and wants to do a documentary?
This guy.
Okay, that was a little cheesy. We might edit that out.
But the idea of how can we collaborate, because I know nothing about this. I come at it ignorantly, and I like the idea of doing that in filmmaking, where I get to kind of learn along with the viewer, so to speak, and ask those questions that might be assumed. With all the you're so into it and have done so much research and all that. It's I have to ask really basic questions, but you've been great at explaining that to me and understanding of my what I don't know, and that's been really helpful to help illustrate that for our teens and ask the right questions. And it's been really great. What is driving you to work on the project?
Well, first of all, I'll just say this, that you come from a place where you don't have as much knowledge as I do, but you have a natural understanding of what these kids are experiencing, both from your own experiences, but also just because of your empathetic self. Oh. And so I appreciate...
Go on.
That was outstanding.
Enough about me. Let's talk about me. No.
Ready for my... No,
yeah, there's always that line... enough about me. Let's talk about you. What do you think about me?
That's outstanding.
Right, we'll cut that.
No, we're going to keep that in. So, for a lack of better words, I've been kind of in the trenches for, my entire career. And I really believe my purpose in life, and I tell this story to my students, is to make somebody better every day. And I really try to do that in my classroom. I try to do that at home. I don't do it all the time. But
that's the aim.
That's the aim. That is my mantra. That's my theme. And that's my goal. And I've been doing it on a scale of 150 to 200 students every year. And I want to see if I can make a difference on a bigger scale. Simply because mental illness has always existed. Mental illness in 2019 was epidemic-like. I mean, you can look at some of the stats that we'll get to, but you look at 1 in 3 teenagers feeling hopeless, helpless. You look at 1 in 6 teenagers creating a suicide plan, and you say this is a problem, but then you go ahead and throw COVID into the mix, and you're just throwing gasoline onto the fire.
Well, I mean, you're just throwing jet fuel on the problem that's already existed, and that has been detrimental.
But as we've been researching this, I think both of us would agree, we have found so many people that are advocating for healthy teenagers.
Yeah, right.
And I think it's just given us a window into all of these amazing human beings that want to make a difference. And so now I want to highlight the issues, but I also want to create this conversation amongst people all around the country. I want to be able to have a school that does something in St. Louis, Missouri, to share that with perhaps an advocacy group that's doing something in Richmond, Virginia.
Yeah.
And to be able to create that dialogue and create that awareness of, look at what they're doing here. Maybe we can do something like that here.
Right.
And to be able to get experts into this and sharing their research and what they're finding right now, there are moments where it seems really dire.
So what are some of those elements that teens are facing and parents are facing? I know insurance to get the right treatment has been one. We know social media has been another. What are some of the other forces that are at play that are really piling on to the mental health of teenagers?
Yeah, you look at it, if you were to take kind of the major issues, you have insurance, you have a lack of mental health care, and in some cases you have a lack of the proper mental health care. You have social media, you have children that are frankly just fried with their ridiculous schedules, and the pressures that they face. You have COVID, right, and that isolation. There's so many aspects to this. So my question to you is, we started off this project back a few months ago, and we were like, I don't know, maybe some TikTok, maybe some posts on Instagram, maybe a YouTube video. What have you found out as we've started to do this research? What have you found out about the size and the scope of this issue?
Well, it's global, is from what I can tell. We've only been interviewing people in the U.S., and I think that's where this project is going to focus. And I hope we can get, we're hoping to secure funding for a story that is nationwide and covering as many demographics and socioeconomic levels and geographics as we can to tell the most diverse story. But that depends on you, viewer. For just $1 a day. No, I'm kidding.
So what you're saying is mental illness doesn't discriminate?
Yeah, it sure doesn't seem like it. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. And it doesn't, we've had really successful teenagers that are playing multiple varsity sports, having just the pressures of keeping it all together. And that is something you wouldn't necessarily think of. I think you could all imagine it. But then, there's those obvious ones where, we've seen, you and I kind of grew up during the Columbine shooting things. For me, I was a senior in high school when that happened. And so we won't mention how old
I was still in school. I was still in school. But my parents wished I wasn't.
Yeah, right. So, that for me was a big pivotal moment.
Police say 14 people may be injured after shots, explosions, and a fire were reported at suburban Denver's Columbine High School.
And I had the fortunate, time to be with some of the high schoolers after that event that summer. So it happened April 20th. In that summer, we shared working at a summer camp together in Colorado, and that's kind of what brought us together for this project. But at the same time, that connection, but at the same time, seeing what they were going through and all that PTSD, which is what we call it now, I think, it was not. So. It wasn't really necessarily called that. It was just like trauma or crisis, or I don't even remember what it was. But to see them going through it and just how sad and freaked out, and that still sticks with me, and that's been a long time now. And we keep seeing more. We've seen more shootings and more people having. That's not just one mental illness thing necessarily, or only mental illness. But for me, like we had met in like the 5 times that we were meeting on Zoom once a week. We came back talking about another teenager shooting people, and it was kind of reinforcing for me. We got to do our best to head that off at the past before we get that far for teenagers. So hopefully what we're gathering can help.
Yeah, I do.
For me, Columbine or those Eric and Dylan it was a really influential time in my life, where I was really figuring out who I was, and as a senior in high school, it was just, it could have been any school as far as I could tell. And so that was, for me, a time to go, wow, they're really going through stuff. And I know people like that in my own high school. So how can we help them? And so here we are.
We are in need of financing. We are in need of funding. And you can view it as funding for this project, or you can view it as funding for our youth's future.
We could make it, well, we need to make it good so people pay attention to it. And with that, once we make it, we need to make sure that the people that need to hear it the way they need to hear it. And so the way we can do that is by having a budget that can help us do it well and reach the people that need to hear it. So that's what we're asking of you. We'd love your help to support the project, and this will be somewhere, we'll link to where you can go to support it. And we hope that you can help us support our future teens and our project moving forward.
The President John F. Kennedy once said,
If not us, who?
"If not now, when?"